Howdy, gang, and welcome to yet another Terror Time tea. I have my tea all ready. Sorry that this was a little later than normal, about 10 minutes later than it normally would be. I had a little trouble getting out of work. I had to finish something up real quick before I got on here. Um, Hey, Blissful. So I've got my tea, no snack today. Sorry about that, folks. But I am going to be talking about a couple of movies. I'm going to be talking about Just Before Dawn and Funeral Home. And I'm also going to be giving my ratings on those today as well. But I want to say thank you to the people that are watching, anybody that's in the chat. I know Blissful's currently in the chat right now. Um, Not saying that's required that you be in the chat. You are welcome to come in and watch. I don't. I try not to call it lurking because I don't like the connotations with that. But if you ever do, you've been watching, you ever do want to come in and chat, we have a very nice and, for the most part, we have a very nice and polite chat. Hey, Hemi. Um, so, um, let's just get to the movie, shall we? Well, before I do that, I just want to say um, that me and Candace are planning on doing a Friday Foolish. As you can see, I've got my Friday Foolish shirt on today. However, Candace did contact me a little bit earlier to let me know that they were having some internet issues. The internet was going in and out. So it could be possible if it doesn't stabilize that we have to reschedule our Friday Foolish possibly for the weekend, in which case it won't be a Friday Foolish, it'll be a, Sunday silly or Saturday silly or whatever. But hopefully the internet will stabilize not only for her to be able to do the Friday Foolish with me, but also so Chris can work because I know that Chris works from home and he depends on good internet service to be able to do his job. So, um, other than that, I've got a couple of watch alongs coming up over the weekend. Saturday's watch along starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. No, they're not getting any storms, Blissful. It's, just, I guess, where they live at. Occasionally they have intermittent internet issues. I, Candace didn't say anything about storms, so I don't think they're getting any storms. Um, so Deliverance will be the watch along for Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Um, the movie Munchies, I planned a movie Munchies, but it's kind of up in the air now. Uh, that's good, Hemi. I'm glad to hear that it's sunny somewhere. I mean, technically it's sunny here. I'd say partly cloudy, maybe. It's just staying hot, which in most areas of the country, I think it's pretty hot right now. Um, so the movie Munchies is kind of up in the air. I'm really going to try to do the movie Munchies. Um, However, I have not picked anything, and so I'm going to have to hurry up and pick something so I know what to pick up at the grocery to do a movie Munchies. Um, and Sundays watch along, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time, will be Southern Comfort. So be sure to tune in for all of that. But without further ado, let's get to these movies. So the first one I want to talk about, of course, is Just Before Dawn, starring George Kennedy. Not really starring George Kennedy, but they put George Kennedy's name, top billing because he is George Kennedy. But he's really maybe in one, maybe two scenes in the whole movie. Um, Liz, will you say you have an idea about it? You'll text me. All right, cool. Um, Chris Lemon is also on here. Greg Henry, Jamie Rose. Um, and just before dawn is a Jeff Lieberman. Jeff Lieberman film. I had to double check. I was pretty sure it was a Jeff Lieberman film, but then let's steer y'all wrong. It is a Jeff Lieberman film who also did Blue Sunshine, which is a fantastically creepy horror film to do with drug abuse, basically, and how that can turn things upside down. And in a horror film, it can really turn things upside down. So if you haven't seen Blue Sunshine, I highly recommend that one as well. I probably need to talk about that on a Terror Time Tea at some point. But Just Before Dawn was a movie that technically it's a slasher movie. It's probably not considered a camp slasher movie, but maybe a woodland or a forest slasher or something like that. People are going camping, but it's not taking place on a or in a summer camp. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Um, so we have a group of supposedly young people, but we all know with these slasher films, they're never uh, quite as young as they're supposed to be, and this is no exception. So the main guy, played by Greg Henry, and his girlfriend and some of his friends are going to some property that I believe he has inherited, and they're gonna have, they're gonna go camping and have a great time, and drink and smoke a little dope and do all the things that they do in these slasher and horror films. But there's something that they don't know about, that there is a killer who has already taken out a couple of hunters, one of whom is played by Mike Kellen from Sleepaway Camp. Um, and Mike Kellen is great in this. He's not in it very often or very long. Can't even talk today, guys and gals. It's been a long week. Very long. But when he is on screen, I love watching Mike Kellen work. Unfortunately, Mike Kellen passed away soon after Sleepaway Camp was made. He passed away from cancer, and I believe when he was filming Sleepaway Camp, he was very ill at that time. But so that's a basic story. But I love the way this film is designed, though, because it's got a few more twists, and I don't want to give those twists away, especially one big twist, because I would love for people that haven't seen it to be able to experience it and be like, oh my gosh, you know. Um, because I'll tell you, when I first watched this film, I did not see that twist coming at all. And I've watched a lot of these horror films, and I had watched a lot of horror films prior to what or discovering Just Before Dawn. Um, and it's to me, it's got a little added extra oomph to it, a little extra added something to it that makes this one a little more special than a lot of the Friday the 13th clones, as I like to call them. Um, so if you have not seen Just Before Dawn, I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, as I always say, don't go out and buy it. Don't go out and spend your hard-earned money on this movie. Try to find a for free copy. Look for it on YouTube or Tubi, or if you have a friend that has a copy that you can borrow. If you have a friend that's just as big of a horror fan as you are, and they have a copy, see if you can borrow it from them. That's what friends do. They share with each other. Um, but Just Before Dawn was a very nice surprise for me, because I felt like at that point in time that I discovered this film, I was a little case hardened on horror films, slasher films in particular. And so it was just refreshing. It was fun. It had a unique twist, in my opinion, to it. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give my rating of it. And I'm not going to give it the highest rating, but I am going to give it 4 Deadites out of 5. Because I think that this one should be in a slasher fan's catalog. And I don't mean catalog by go out and buy it. Okay. But it should be in your canon or whatever. You should experience it at least once, in my opinion. So that is Just Before Dawn. And I know, guys, that my, last couple of streams, if y'all have, watched them, and words are hard, Blissful, by the way, um, or they're hard for me today, and my eye is twitching too, which doesn't make things any easier. But like I was saying, what tea am I having today, Blissful? I'm having the watermelon tea because, by golly, I'm hooked on this stuff. But I am going to be soon harvesting some of my mint plant leaves, and I'm going to be trying to make a chocolate mint tea. So once I get the ingredients put together for that and I taste test it while I'm off camera and make sure that it's okay, then the next Terror Time tea I do after I get that tea made, I will actually be sipping on some chocolate mint tea as I talk to you guys about a couple of movies. Hemi, this watermelon tea is Fiesta Tea brand. I got it from Amazon. And to tell you the honest truth, what it tastes like to me is watermelon bubblicious bubble gum. I mean, and it's just that I think that's why I'm hooked on it. Blissful, you think the chocolate mint will be delicious? I I'm hoping that it turns out good. And I'm going to be, experimenting because I have a spearmint plant. Normally people don't put spearmint and chocolate together, but I want to try this and see how it tastes. I tried him and you say, "Oh, yummy." Um, but the next movie, well, like I was saying, let me back up a little bit. I'm putting the cart before the horse. Um, I under I know and I understand that the stream from last night, for anybody that watched it, and the stream today, they're gonna be kind of on the short side, and that's okay. But I don't want anybody to be disappointed that I'm not on here longer. Not that I'm any great conversationalist or anything. It's just that sometimes people expect a little longer than what I've been on these last 2 streams. But anyway, we'll get to Funeral Home now, which is a Canadian film starring Leslie Donaldson and Kay Hawtrey, Harvey Atkins on this, Barry Morse, a lot of people that you would have seen in a lot of other Canadian films, either horror or non-horror. Um, this was also directed by William Fruitt. Um, and William Fruitt, I don't know that he did a lot of stuff, but the stuff that he did was memorable to me, and Funeral Home was no exception. Funeral Home is it's a slasher film again, essentially. Takes place in a funeral home turned into a tourist home where people can, basically come and stay when they don't want to stay at a hotel, motel, stuff like that. Um, and then there are some people that use it as like a boarding house. They stay there on a weekly or monthly basis for as long as they need to. But so we have Leslie Donaldson's uh, character of Heather traveling to her grandmother's tourist home to help out for the summer. And when Heather gets there, things are very, weird. First off, um, her grandmother seems kind of nervous. Her grandmother talks about, your grandfather wouldn't approve of this. Your grandfather wouldn't approve of that. He wouldn't approve of me turning the funeral parlor into a tourist home. And he was a very private man. He wouldn't like all these people, going in and out of the house. And then um, they have a traveling salesman who is traveling not with his wife, but his mistress, um, who come to stay at the tourist home. And they're not very good people. The woman is obnoxious and mean to people. She has a screechy, high pitched voice that's very annoying. And the I don't know if I said the traveling salesman is played by Harvey Adkins, who was on a lot of Canadian films, including The Immortal Meatballs, as he played Morty, the head counselor of the camp. So uh, anyway, so you say stop, or I'll have to TJ get stern with you. Ooh, we don't want TJ getting stern with me, Blissful. That's one thing we don't want. So it turns out that Heather's grandfather disappeared, supposedly. And, you know, but grandma talks about him like he's still around. He wouldn't approve, James wouldn't approve, or grandfather wouldn't approve of this or that, and and Heather, she thinks things are odd, but not too odd. So she starts to make friends and starts a romantic relationship with one of the boys in town, or young men in town. And Grandma never really seems to want Heather out very long. She's always saying, "Where have you been?" In that Canadian accent. And says, "I don't like you staying out so late, and I'm sure your mother wouldn't approve of this." And even throwing grandpa in there, or grandfather in there, as somebody that would not approve of Heather staying out all hours of the day and night. But then Heather begins to be woken up in the middle, either the really late night hours or really early morning, she's hearing talking and arguing coming from the basement, and she listens from one of the vents, and it sounds like her grandma is having an argument with someone. And sometimes her grandma's crying. Um, I don't know if Heather is supposed to hear the word James, but we hear it as the audience. And James, of course, is the name of her husband. So we're like, what's going on here? Um, James is supposed to be missing. Um, so some people start getting killed off. Um, for the most part, it's a slasher. There are a couple of people that basically a truck comes up behind them and pushes the car into the quarry, and that's how they die. But there's plenty of slashing and stuff like that to go on to qualify this one as a slasher to me. But again, I don't want to um, give too much away about this movie because um, there are some twists and turns along the way that I don't want to give away if you have not seen this movie. I believe you can watch this on YouTube for free. It's possible it may be on Tubi. I'm not really sure. I haven't checked to see if it's on Tubi, but I know that at one time it was on YouTube. So if you have not seen Funeral Home, I would recommend it. Um, but again, please, don't go out and purchase this without, I don't recommend blind buying. I've been known to blind buy things in the past, and sometimes it turns out okay. Sometimes I feel like I got shafted. So please, if you can find it for a free version, yeah, I highly recommend you give it a watch. Um, This movie is actually a little bit longer than others of its type at 91 minutes, but that's 1 minute over the standard for this time period. So I don't think that's too bad. But a fun little horror movie with some creepy elements in it. And if you watch it, you'll know exactly what those creepy elements are that I am talking about. But again, I don't want to give away too much. And so I'm going to hurry up and give my rating here. So I'm also going to give this one 4 Deadites out of 5 because I think this is a very well made Canadian slasher. This one came out in 1982, and that was during the time period when Canadian slashers, in my opinion, were king. I think that at that point in time in the early 80s especially that the Canadians were doing stuff with the horror films and the slasher films that we were falling short, in the United States. We were falling a little short on that. Um, so um, I guess that's all from me for right now. Hopefully, me and Candace will be able to get on here and have a Friday Foolish. We're planning on doing that taste test or taste test challenge, whatever you want to call it, where we take a few different foods that we have obtained, and there's stuff that we've never eaten or drank. I think Candace may have a drink of some sort. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to try that I've never tried, and I'm going to try them on camera. So I hope they're pretty good because I don't think you guys and gals want to see me like spitting it out all over the place. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, great live, Dana. And Hemi, thank you for joining us today. I don't remember seeing you in here before. If you were in here before, I do apologize. If you've been watching and rather than being in the chat, I still appreciate your support of the channel, my live streams, and yes, fingers crossed for Candace's internet that we can do the Friday Foolish. But as always, I want to remind everybody to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And oh, A friend of yours. Okay, that is awesome. Any friend of Blissful's is a friend of mine. So so welcome, Hemi. And so I'm out of here for now. Hopefully, I will see you guys and gals uh, in a little over half an hour. Um, I may have gotten a message, so that could be Candace letting me know something. Um, yes, everybody definitely needs to be kind to one another. There's too much anger and stuff going on in the entire world. So yeah. So I'm getting out of here for now, but I'll see everybody next time. Bye, guys and gals.